Magical Kitty Save the Day is an all-ages cooperative role-playing game, or RPG, for at least 2 players. You're all magical cats trying to solve problems as well as help your human. Atlas Games provided this copy in exchange for an honest review. This game is on Kickstarter now, so we've added a link below if you'd like to check out the campaign. This review is going to be different from our others. At this point, we normally show a bunch of photos and explain how the game works. Because we were given a few simple PDFs for this prototype, there isn't much to show compared to the finished game. Each player should have a piece of paper, something to write with, and a few d6, meaning 6-sided dice. The dice will be rolled whenever there's a check. The GM will tell you which attribute to use: cunning, cute, or fierce, and the difficulty: 3, 4, 5, or 6. Take a look at your attribute, then roll that many dice. Each die that ties or beats the difficulty counts as a success. The GM will explain what happened depending on the number of successes or failures. Being a magical kitty is hard work. You want to help your human, but you can't reveal your magic. Luckily, you can understand other animals and you're pretty capable. Just how capable is tied to the character creation. Each player rolls a d6. Check the chart to see their attributes. The highest score kitties can have in a category is 3, meaning you're going to fail checks at times. Players will now roll 2d6 to learn their talent, then roll again to learn their flaw, and finally roll again to learn their magical power. Next, players will describe their kitties. The rulebook gives examples like name, appearance, personality, and so on. This doesn't all have to be done at the very start. Maybe players could be given a quest to learn about their past during the game. Finally, players will roll a few more times and answer some questions about their human. So let's talk about checks and failures. You're going to have some difficult checks at times. Maybe you're being chased, you turn down an alley, and oh no! A dead end. You do spot an open window, but it's pretty high, and your claws aren't meant to climb brick walls. When you fail a check, you might take damage. In this game, they're called owies. Maybe you succeeded, barely, but you broke some claws. All kitties start with an owie limit of 2. If they take another, they suffer an injury. From now on, that player will roll 1 fewer die. If they take enough injuries, they could have no dice left, meaning all checks will automatically fail. If a kitty's injuries match their highest attribute number, they're knocked out for the rest of the scene. At the end of the scene, they recover 1 injury even if they were incapacitated. Kitties also recover 1 injury every 24 hours. Nice! There's one last thing: flaws. If a player uses their flaw in an interesting way, the GM can give them a treat. Treats can be used to re-roll on checks, avoid an injury, and other cool stuff. Roleplay? Use your abilities and flaws and enjoy the adventure. That's Magical Kitty Save the Day. If you have space to write on your sheet and roll dice, you can play Magical Kitty Save the Day. And you can always use an app for the dice part. As with any RPG, you can play for as long as you want. We usually set aside 2 hours for our games. That gives us enough time to get into character, figure out the problem, solve the mystery, and so on. The designers wanted kids as young as 6 to be able to play this easily. Honestly, as with another game I reviewed recently, No Thank You Evil, kids even younger can handle this as long as the GM is willing to give them a simpler adventure. Maybe don't go into as much detail during character creation and with the story. To run a game, I guess kids should be at least grade 3. A strong imagination and vocabulary are nice to have, but being able to improvise is most important. I had a hard time picking just one story to tell from our Magical Kitty Save the Day games. I was thinking of telling you all about my dad's stubborn character, Reginald C. Cat, and how he refused to leave his home even when a bad storm was rolling in and werewolves were lurking. He even refused to leave as the wind blew their house down. Okay, I guess I did tell you about that story. What I really want to talk about is our friend Ariel's character. Calvin Higginbottom's town was infested with raccoons, and he was trying to protect his home and human. Once safe, Calvin explored the town, was almost hit by a car, and was almost adopted by a young girl at the butcher's. Later, he made a deal with a raccoon who doesn't agree with what the others are doing. Magical Kitty Save the Day has a great character creator. Roll dice and check tables and answer some questions. By the time you're done, you have a good idea about your character, their personality, their human, and how you can help them. This gives you something to do and think about in addition to whatever the GM comes up with, and helps this feel more like how I imagine an RPG to be compared to some other all-ages RPGs like No Thank You Evil and RPG Kids. The treat system works really well. If players use their character's flaws, they get a treat. Actual role-playing in a role-playing game? Imagine that! There's combat, but it's a simple check like all other tests. Don't go into this expecting something like Fantasy Flight Games' Star Wars game or Dungeons & Dragons, but it works here and is perfect for younger and/or newer gamers. I hope the finished books have stats for challenges and creatures in addition to more story ideas. Sometimes I was like, wait, how difficult should it be to escape from a little girl's arms? Things like that. No Thank You Evil and most RPGs do this well, and I'm sure this will. When I first heard about Magical Kitty Save the Day, I had a feeling I was going to like this one a lot. As I gained experience and confidence as a GM, I really started liking it, at least that part of the game. An RPG is only as good as its GM and players. Thankfully, this game has really good ideas, strong rules, and a fantastic character creator to help GMs and players get into the world. For me, I miss the complexity of deeper role-playing games. I miss the different skills, stats, inventory management, and I just miss all the things to do, really. This is the best all-ages RPG I've come across, but for an experienced gamer like me, it doesn't have enough to pull me away from my other games. Basically, if you have eager role players under 6, check out No Thank You Evil. If you have eager role players under 12, check this out. They're both successful in doing what they hope to do, and I love that companies are doing this.